Hey folks, happy Tuesday. Today, as we always do on Tuesdays, we're going to share a little nugget of wisdom from the book of Proverbs. Today, we're going to be examining the second chapter of Proverbs. We're going to focus on verse 19, but really we're going to be looking at verses 16 through 19. But notice verse 19 says, "None that go unto her return again, neither take they hold on the paths of life." And so here is a path of no return, as Solomon speaks about. Now, in this section of Proverbs, Solomon has been extolling the virtues of wisdom. Wisdom, he says, must be sought as one looks for treasure. When it is found, it brings a respectful awe or fear of the Lord. Wisdom is only found in God's Word, and when discovered, it brings knowledge and understanding. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. And then Solomon goes on to teach how God's wisdom will lead one to a godly life in verses 7 through 10. But with this wisdom then comes discretion to know how to avoid those who would lead us astray. And as we talks about in Proverbs chapter 2, verses 11 through 15. But I want to begin in verse 16 here, and we see that Solomon begins to draw a comparison between the heavenly wisdom that is from above and the earthly and sensual wisdom from below. It says there, beginning in verse 16, to deliver thee, talking about wisdom, will deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger which flattereth with her words, which forsaketh the guide of her youth. For her house inclineth unto death, and her paths unto the dead. None that go unto her return again, neither take they hold of the paths of life. And so he draws this comparison. He compares wisdom, the wisdom that comes from God, and he contrasts it with the wisdom of the world, the sensual wisdom. It's depicted then as a depraved and shameless woman who tempts and flatters with promises of carnal pleasure, who instead delivers nothing but death. The earthly sensuality, once taken hold of, is difficult to relinquish, because when one grasps onto it, it also sinks their hook. It hooks into them. And so Solomon warns that once one goes down her path, it is exceedingly difficult to turn away from it and to find their way back to the paths of true wisdom. And so Solomon, he's also warning about the consequences of sexual immorality. Giving into base desire and continuing to do so can lead to sexual addiction. I saw a movie which aptly describes this kind of thing. There was a phrase in there, a statement in there that it says, if you dance with the devil don't change, the devil changes you. And so think about that. When we become involved in worldly things, we don't change the world when we're acting as the world. We don't change those that are immoral, and by being immoral with them, we don't make that change. They change us. And that's exactly right. And so becoming involved with this sensual woman, or I'm talking about sensual things, pornography, fornication, adultery, all these things are likened to dancing with the devil. It offers the promise of carnal pleasure, but only delivers death, disease, and broken homes. James chapter 3, there beginning in verse 13, also talks about sensual wisdom that is from the earth. He says there beginning in verse 13, who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show it out of the good conversation of his works with meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envying and strife in your heart, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, easy to be entreated, and full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality, without hypocrisy. and the fruit of righteousness is sown of them that make peace. And so we need to be careful to avoid the things of this world that lead us astray, that will lead us into a dark path that leads only to destruction. We need to adhere to it and listen to and follow the wisdom that comes from above, the wisdom that we have received through God's Word. We need to study God's Word. We need to know God's Word. And we need to develop wisdom. We need to pray for wisdom. James chapter 1, verse 5 says that we need to pray for wisdom. But along with praying for wisdom, we need to do our part in studying and learning God's Word so that we can say with the psalmist of Psalm 119 and verse 11, where he said, Thy word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against thee. I hope this helps you today as you deal with the daily temptations of life in general.